In a recent interview with Fox News, U.S. President Donald Trump said the following.
Well, we are helping intelligence-wise, but when I said help by air, I'm talking about security after the war is settled. So after the war is settled, we would help secure the peace. And I think ultimately that'll happen.
The RMF correspondent in Washington, D.C., responded to this statement by the American president, writing the following. Trump also said that the U.S. is offering Poland intelligence assistance, but he did not declare that he would send additional air forces. When I said I would help Poland, I meant after the war, he said. Shortly thereafter, a statement was issued by the Polish press agency, which is in liquidation. We are supporting Poland with intelligence, but when I said I would help Poland, I meant after the war. It suggested that Poland should first take part in the war and then receive help after the war. This is something that could have greatly alarmed public opinion, and above all, it is completely untrue. And if the Polish press agency, which is now completely subordinate to the current illegal takeover of power, repeats this, it only exacerbates the situation. The question is, why did the name of our country appear twice in reports by both RMF-FM and the Polish press agency in statements that did not contain the word Poland? Regardless of whether someone translated it that way out of stupidity or deliberately to cause confusion, it is noteworthy how eagerly it was picked up. It is the kind of fake news that people expect. If someone is waiting for such information, they simply don't check it. They immediately pick it up because it suits them. The RMF-FM correspondent manipulated, lied, and then thoughtlessly repeated this manipulation in the Polish press agency in liquidation, which is a blunt tool in the hands of Sienkiewicz first, and now Donald Tusk. The case is particularly surprising in the context of the Polish press agency, which as a state press agency used to provide reliable information without comment. These are the effects of the actions of the liquidator of the Polish press agency, the Foreign Department, which made an embarrassing mistake, misinformed Polish politicians, as a result of personnel changes at the Polish press agency. All key editors were replaced, and almost all foreign correspondents were dismissed. Instead, they brought in their own people. Poland is not at war with anyone, so saying that he would help provide air support to Poland was in a sense pointless. This should have been understood immediately, or at least one should have waited and thought about it. Neither the Polish press agency nor RMF did so. Sending such information is harmful because it misinforms rather than informs the public. But that's not all, because in a morning interview with RMF-FM, government spokesman Adam Szłapka expressed concern about the alleged change in the U.S. president's attitude towards our country. In fact, they tried to make a big deal out of the fact that many more soldiers would be stationed in Poland. Well, now we have the answer to that. Contrary to what they tried to present to us, there was no such obvious declaration of strengthening the American presence in Poland. No such clear statement. It seems that the government spokesman was referring to Donald Trump's declaration made in front of the cameras during Polish President Karol Nawrocki's recent visit to Washington, D.C. The whole thing looks like an anti-American operation planned by the government, because the government-controlled Polish Information Agency, which is in liquidation, is spreading fake news that undermines our Polish-American alliance. And this is being repeated by government spokesman Adam Szłapka in order to also undermine Polish President Karol Nawrocki. This is further evidence of the strong anti-American shift in the policy of the December 13th coalition. A few hours after the interview with a private radio station, Adam Szłapka did not retract his earlier statements at an official press conference. Instead, he offered a strange explanation. Mr. Editor, I don't want to play around with interpreting the words of the President of the United States. The official line of the U.S. government leaves no room for doubt. And as a former deputy head of the Polish Ministry of National Defense, I can only add that facts matter. We currently have about 10,000 American soldiers already on Polish territory. Thousands more in Poland's immediate vicinity are operating in the Air Force and Navy. ready to come to our aid, but already operating in our skies. Meanwhile, the media, which is favorable to the current government, widely reported fake news. The German portal Allnet even asked Poles what they thought of the manipulated words of the American president. This does not surprise me at all, because if we have a government that Berlin likes, and Berlin clearly declares that the United States should not interfere in European affairs, then we must realize that someone wants to influence the sentiment of Poles by lying as brazenly as possible. But it is worth taking a little effort to check the source of this information. We asked the Polish Sejm about the manipulation of the American president's words by the media and the government spokesperson. I have the impression that the current management of the Polish press agency, in carrying out a certain personnel revolution, has lowered standards to such an extent that soon we will not be able to believe what the Polish press agency reports, because it will turn out that there is fabricated information mixed in with the real news. This is a very serious threat. I have the impression that the politicians of the ruling coalition, who talk a lot about disinformation and threats at the moment, are themselves part of something that undermines trust in public institutions and the state. It's terrible how this government is trying to discredit our most important ally, the United States, and especially President Trump. Even members of the ruling coalition have no mercy for the authors of fake news. Politicians should also verify this information, of course. There is no leniency here. But yes, this is a serious mistake. And I think that it should absolutely not happen in the future. It is indeed puzzling that the Polish press agency released something like this, because it can be misleading. Until now, the Polish press agency has always been a reliable source. When it released something, we knew it could be reproduced. Interestingly, only the representative of the Civic Platform reacted aggressively to the matter. Please make an appointment through the secretary, sir. I've been busy since this morning, and I don't know what you're asking me. I need to check. I'm talking about Donald Trump's words, which have been manipulated. I'd rather see for myself what he said, right? Rather than hear it from you, especially from TV Republica. Actually, the deputy marshal could find out what happened in this case from TV Republica, and so we have another piece of misinformation that has recently been reaching Poles from the current government. The current ruling coalition consists of people who are characterized by many traits, but also by unprofessionalism. It is not only that we are governed by liars, but also by amateurs. This was demonstrated by Deputy Minister Bosacki in New York when he lied, misleading global public opinion. First, Polish diplomacy was ridiculed by leaking information about President Trump's letter to the media, and now the government news agency is spreading misinformation about the U.S. president's statements on our security. Unfortunately, the government spokesperson is spreading this further. At a time when Poland is surrounded by fire, the government is doing a lot to spoil our allied relations. Unfortunately, they are no longer using matches for this, but a flamethrower in the form of disinformation. Knowledge of languages is gold for those who claim to be experts in them. It is worth checking twice. The media has already withdrawn from this disinformation, but the distaste remains.